Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday from Arni's. Happy birthday to you.
Welcome to our Arni's birthday Zoom. Very special guest today, Warren Ike Moore. And if you know Purdue football, you know the great story of the Fix-It Man. He's done a lot since that moment on October 28th, 2000, when he had a little conversation with Drew Brees. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Warren, first, happy birthday, 45 years, right, today? Young?
Yeah, thank you. 45 years is a blessing to see 45 for sure.
No question. The pride of Memphis, and came to Purdue, played for the Boilermakers defensive end, 1997 to 2000. Got to play quite a bit over his career. Got some starts in there, especially in his senior year. First, I always ask the question about birthday traditions or plans for today, or what you had growing up. What is a birthday for Warren Moore these days?
Oh man, Alan, I would tell you that I tell my wife I probably don't celebrate them big enough.
Yeah.
One of the traditions is it's tough for my family members to find something these days to buy for me, because they say I buy stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, just a normal birthday now is one really spent on reflecting on the journey that I've been on. We generally do a nothing but cake, so I can count on that every year.
Yeah.
And then just blessed to have health, strength, and a family that loves me and supports me. So it's probably more reflecting on them these days. They generally fall on a big weekend for Walmart, where I work at Shareholders Week. So just kind of be around with the family, get a meal cooked for me, a birthday cake, and lots of reflections for sure.
Yeah, good way to spend it. All right, your professional career has done some. You're a pharmacy major at Purdue, which is a very rare thing among, just because it's so difficult to do and so taxing from an academic standpoint. Not many student athletes over the years have been pharmacists. I think of Joe Shopper, the former punter. Matt Waddell was a little bit before you. I think he was part of the 5-year program. You were, I think, part of you have a PharmD in 6 years. Talk about your professional career, though, and what got you to Walmart, because you don't think about pharmacy and Walmart in your role, but you've had a number of different roles with that great company.
Yeah, it's amazing. I never thought I would work in retail pharmacy. So you talked about Matt Waddell. I actually thought I would follow his footsteps and go into industry, and I actually narrowed it down to Walmart and Eli Lilly.
Yeah,
and then you say, okay, why Walmart? It was the people that I had an opportunity to sit with. So I knew I wanted to have opportunity to grow. I had this fear of being kind of capped or hitting a ceiling and you get stagnant. And so I wanted this opportunity to grow. And I'm so grateful that the individuals I sat with on my interview days took to heart what I said, and really from day one started to invest in me. And so ended up in Walmart. I've had 11 or 12 different jobs over this 21 years now, which is amazing to say that, and lots of opportunity. It's been awesome. I couldn't have made a better choice. My wife's a pharmacist. I met my wife in pharmacy school, so she's a pharmacist. She still practices part-time in our stores. She would tell you that she's the real pharmacist. I'm like this corporate pharmacist now.
Yeah.
And I just pivoted outside of health and wellness with Walmart. So it's been amazing opportunity. Never thought I would do retail, but grateful that I did. An awesome journey that I never could have imagined when I set foot into this profession.
You have to be academically extremely well prepared and motivated. But how did you get to Purdue from your days? You grew up in Memphis. What got you? I know your first season was 97. I'm thinking Jim Coletto's staff would have recruited you. So tell me about that, but also how you had your sights set. Did you always have your sights set on pharmacy growing up?
Yeah, I actually came in
growing up, as I should say, as you got closer to college. I'm sure you weren't when you were 8 years old, but
so 96 is when I came in, and it was under Jim Coletto, and it was interesting, growing up at age 10 in Pee Wee football. I started playing football when I was 10. So age 10, 11, coaches went around and said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you had a lot of people saying professional football player this, and I said accountant. Okay, because my dad worked at the RS and had put into my mind that, hey, you should probably think about being an accountant. My mom was a nurse, so she's since retired. And so healthcare was there, so she wanted to push me to a medical. I went to a very good high school, Whitehaven High School, where math science was really pushed. And so it was either engineering or healthcare. And I always joked that no one could explain engineering to me at that age. And so I went into healthcare, and pharmacy became something that I looked at. So as I went on my recruiting visits, I took 4 official visits: University of Louisville, University of Memphis, North Carolina State, and Purdue. And I had my mind made up I would do pharmacy. I was prepared to do like a pre-pharm undergrad and then go on to pharmacy school if need be. With Purdue being my last visit, man, when I campus, Leroy Keys actually came and picked me up from Indianapolis. And when I hit campus, I said, wow, this is the place. And so I already knew. And so lo and behold, we had a pharmacy school at Purdue and had, a counselor, another lady who passed on. So Jackie Jimerson had a counselor in the College of Pharmacy that really invested. So to have a support when I was recruited and they knew it, and to have a support in the College of Pharmacy was amazing. And it was some tough times for sure, to go through it, but blessed to have that opportunity. And my mom is happy that I'm in the healthcare profession as well. And now I have an oldest daughter who's 25 that's a nurse in the ER. So healthcare continues to run through the blood. And it's an amazing place where you can help people and make a life's work out of doing that.
Well, one of the things, and I want to get to your family a little bit later too, but Leroy Keys and the legacy of Leroy Keys, and you were obviously very much involved with that after his passing. But talk about a guy that made a difference for all student athletes, but talk about what he did for you and what you learned from being around Leroy Keys, who never met somebody he didn't care about.
That's exactly right. The first memory that comes to mind is Leroy Keys sitting in my living room. And my parents still talk about this because he promised that no matter what, that he was going to ensure that I got a degree from Purdue University.
Yeah.
And so that resonated with my parents. And to this day, they're ever grateful for that. And so then throughout the year, so when you got to campus, he was the same, always looking out. And then post football, when you saw Coach Keys, as we call him, man, with the big smile, always embracing you when we came back and visited, wanted to know how I was doing, wanted to know how my parents were doing, and then wanted to always know how my family now that I have was doing. And so really, really special man, touched my life. And so now, me and my wife, we give toward the Leroy Keys Fellowship because when people have an impact, and I know he wanted to have a legacy of one that helped others achieve. We want to continue to carry that legacy on to his name. And so, he'll forever great in Purdue lore and forever great in my personal life. So thankful for Coach Keys for sure.
Yeah, pretty magnanimous personality, but don't forget, he was a 2-time All-American, the only one, and on the Heisman Trophy stand a couple of times. And never, ever, like I said, that smile and that legacy is there. But
and a heck of a golfer too. By the way.
Yes. Do you play some now? Do you get a chance to play?
I don't get out as much. I need to, but I love the game. Used to play quite a lot. But yeah, he was one that could work a golf ball.
All right, Purdue football history. I want to ask you a couple of questions about your career. We'll get to your famous moment in 2000, but talk about also you watched, supposedly football is a metaphor can be for life and how things happen. 1997 was a magical year. I mean, you weren't maybe as much in the rotation at that point, but you went from a program in 96 as your redshirt freshman year where you didn't win, but you looked like you had enough talent to do so. Well, you get a new coaching staff comes in, things change. Talk about what that has really taught you in your professional career about how things can change and what it takes to go from almost a winner to a surprise team that ended up being a big time winner.
Yeah, I think the first thing that jumps out to me when I think about that was this process of competing, but never taking shortcuts when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So we had to go through, that 3 and whatever season, my redshirt freshman year.
Yeah.
New coaching staff comes in. One of the keys to Coach Tiller's success was his assistant coaching staff. And so the people that he brought in with him and the cohesiveness that they had, it was night and day difference from the previous regime. And so that was one of the first things that I took away and I think about now that I still carry when I pick teams and lead teams, understanding, what does the job call for? What does the team need? And how do we continue to leverage that to make sure everybody wins and can see themselves in that process. And so they did that. And it was amazing to see it. And I think the other thing that I do today, when you come in, I think it's important for people to know who you are. I had some amazing defensive line coaches and Coach Melvin and Coach Emanuel that really stand out. But Coach Melvin really taught about the standard of what it means to be on time, to be early, how to give effort because they measured effort on every play and you got graded. What it means to be accountable to your teammate. So when one person falls, we all fall. So how do we make sure that, hey, you get the class, you get the training tables, and you do that as well. And so all that is a parallel for life and a career. And I've been blessed to have teams where I get to create and hire and inspire. And I always think that the best teams are when you have people who are already self-motivated, and then the coaches or the leaders that they don't demotivate you, but they actually empower you and lift you up. And so that's why I think you hear coaches say, man, when the teams, when they are actually leading and policing themselves, it's the best teams because of that very fact, right? You need people who already want to get out there, be motivated, have a drive to win, want to compete, want to do it the right way. And when you can do that, and then you can have that right ingredient on how you leverage that and pull it out of people, that's what makes great coaches. And hopefully that I'm doing something right in this career that I'm trying to do, and as I lead teams and people across Walmart.
I think you are. There was not a question of that. Okay, how about mentorships? I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess that Rosevelt Colvin and some other guys played an impact on you as you were starting to develop it, get into the rotation. Of course, Rosie was a couple of years ahead of you. Talk about that and the need for your teammates to make it. But you also had a pretty good leader in that number 15 behind center at quarterback. But talk about on the defensive side of the ball, guys that really made a difference for you. Obviously, you talked about the assistant coaches, but your teammates, what were those in the mix?
Yeah, it was really key. So Roosevelt and I are really close. Still keep track of him to this day, and proud of him and what his kids are doing still.
Oh, yeah.
So for Purdue, but I came in '96, and Roosevelt was a year ahead of me, and so instantly we formed this bond. And I think even in my first camp, we really became close. And he would impart wisdom around me. Here's how you get off the ball. Here's how you look for this key from the quarterback. When they head go forward, they're ready to snap the ball. So it was all about get off, all about playing with leverage. And as a redshirt freshman, I made 4 starts toward the end of that year because it was in the rotation. It was me, Rosevelt, Chike, and Chike was another important figure there. And then just that whole defensive end room is important. And so when you come in as a freshman who for me 7.5 hours away from home, you instantly want to have family and a bond, and those guys meant that. We competed, but we actually celebrated for each other. And then when Chike came back and played as well, so Chike was suspended a year, but he came back, and so I was in the 2 deep rotation with Roosevelt, Chike, And so just to see those guys, understand how we played, to try to when you're in the Big Ten, you know it's power football. So man, here's how you beat this double team. Here's what to look out for. Is all those things were really key, and it's amazing to think about that room. When I came in with guys like Rocky Ofojo, came in with guys like Brandon Gorin, who moved, to the other side, Ian Allen, and some of these names that you have across. We had a really good recruiting class, really good D line. Some moved over. I stayed, but upperclassmen, fellow classmen that come in, and then they teach you how to treat others who come in after you. So when the Shaun Phillips come in, right, or the Aiken Adels come in, I think I can't forget about Brian Dinkins, who was there with us. So we just had this really good room of really good people who really invested in one another, cheered along. We competed because we had playing time, but we all wanted to see everybody do well.
All right, your senior year, it had, in some ways, a rocky start, at least through September. You lose a game at Notre Dame you shouldn't have lost. You lose a game at Penn State you shouldn't have lost. And yet it's your senior year. It's Drew Brees' senior year. It's a lot of other guys. It's you're down to crunch time come October. What did you learn from that experience? And then we'll get into the October 28th event. But what did you learn about when things were down? What got that team over the hump?
It's interesting when we lost those. The only team that we never beat was Penn State, and so we never got Penn State. But we never wavered. Like we knew we had this opportunity to be good. You go into the year when you have Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, right? So there's a gauntlet that you have to run, and I think we actually stayed together, and once because we have had success over the previous years, and this was a time we knew, and I can remember seeing. I was on the field when that field goal went through at Notre Dame, the last second field goal. So it was these times that we were right down to the wire, and we knew we just had to finish. And so our ability to start to come together and finish games really became important. We made an emphasis on that in practice, and that really helped us. So I would say this mindset that we knew we had a good team and we had a right to win. We knew that we lost some close ones, and then this attitude and this mindset of finish really started to take over, and then down the stretch you get this thing rolling. It's pretty fun when you can win games the way we won games those years.
Well, at about 10 till 7 on October 28th, 2000, I should say, Brees just got done throwing his fourth interception of the game. And, of course, as great as he was, that game was going up in smoke, and maybe Purdue's Rose Bowl chances were doing. It's a great story, but tell me about that happenstance meeting with Drew, or did you seek him out when you reminded him that if it's what your mom taught you growing up? Tell that story if you can.
It was one of those things that he had just threw an interception, and it's like you see on TV, right? So you see this guy, so 15 was standing there by himself and away from the rest of the team, and so I just walked up to him, and I think that's these things. Thinking back at that time, right, as a young man, didn't understand it, but I was moved. And we always say when God puts something on your heart, right, you go do it. And that was probably the first big time that I did that. But saw him standing there, and I just walked up to him and put an arm around. I was like, hey man, you got us in this, get us out of it. You break it, you fix it. And so the thing that I remember about that was that he looked me in the eye and said that I will. And so when he goes out and throws this pass, and hits Seth Morales, he's coming off the field, and I give him a high five. And I remember that then after the game, he tells me, he said, hey, you're going to be the most talked about person in the media this week. And I was like, what are you talking about? So it meant so much to him that he actually told the story, and that's how I became famous. But it was really in a moment, Alan, of seeing a teammate and seeing somebody that we're good enough. He's good enough. We know that. I mean, just get your mind right. Let's go win this thing. And so that's really what it was about. And so yes, it's one of those moments in time that'll live on forever. And glad that I actually took the initiative to walk up to him and say that and encourage him in that moment.
Yeah, what a great story, and took some courage to do that. Maybe some divine presence as well. Never hurts from that standpoint. 3 weeks later, you're on the turf at Ross-Ade Stadium, a cold afternoon, a beatdown of Indiana. About you and about I don't know, 10, 15,000 of your best friends on the field. Take us through that and that win over Indiana and that feeling of going to the Rose Bowl. You probably had that in your professional life since, of just that great feeling of accomplishment. But how does that stack up, or your memories of that?
Yeah, when you say that, it's amazing. You're making me relive all this. Which is awesome.
It's your birthday.
It is, and again, that's what I say. I do on my birthday, like these reflections. Senior day, so that's the biggest thing. And I think about senior day and how cold it was. And my senior year, my parents, again, Dad had worked at the RS. He may have been retired then because he had a stroke that caused him not to work anymore. And Mom was there. They made every home game that year. And then I could see my aunt and my uncle there. And so senior day was the first memory that comes to mind. So Cole, they're there. Dad walks out with this limp, and so it was amazing there. And then after we won, I have a picture that I still show, to the kids when I speak at the College of Pharmacy, is with the rose that me and Alan was holding. So the roses were out that day to beat Indiana, to do it in the cold, to do it on senior day, and then to have it capped off with the fans on the field will forever be an awesome memory for us to go. And so, yeah, that senior day, parents, their support, and to do it in that fashion, what a way for my last game in Ross-Ade to be remembered that way.
Yeah, all-timer. All right, I know you're a busy man. I do want to ask one last question I ask a lot of folks, and you talk about birthdays being a day of reflection. They're also a day to look ahead. What makes you optimistic? This is a challenging world right now. We have a lot of problems. We've always had problems. They seem like they're bigger than they've ever been in some ways. You have had an illustrious professional career. You're a leader. What makes you optimistic moving ahead?
Gosh, when I think about that, I tell people this, Alan, each day. I ask people this question: how often do you get amazed? Because I personally get amazed pretty often, at least once or twice a week. And someone told me that that's based off perspective on how you look at life. And a couple of things that gets me today, and then I think provides hope. When I see kindness today, now I can say that being a girl dad, Alan, and thinking through that, I probably am probably more in tune with my with myself than I used to be as a football player back then. But then when I see kindness, it touches me in a way, and when I see it, it provides hope. And then when I see my kids, so I have an oldest that's 25, Ariel, have one that'll be 14 on June 4th, Aubrey, and then twins that are 10. So I have 4 girls. And when I see them interact with their friends and the innocence of youth and how they actually love on one another and embrace one another, encourage one another. One of my twins has Down syndrome. And so how I've seen the community wrap their arms around her. When I see the next generation, and I realize that if we do our jobs as parents and as grandparents, that the next generation can be better than us. And so from there is where I get hope. So I think it's reminded on a basis when I see kindness. And then I think the opportunity that we have to raise productive citizens and great people because they get it. And so again, if we don't poison that, if we don't drive them apart, we have hope. And so I'm eternally hopeful. And then I would say, and I alluded to it earlier, my faith also is what I lean on. And so you have to be hopeful for tomorrow. When I say when Christ will come back. So those two things make me hopeful. I live that way. I hope that when you get down, you can look at that. And I literally told my wife this the other day when we was at school with my fourth graders, that if anybody wants to think about doing something to hurt kids, man, they should come in and see the potential. It was at a talent show. See the potential of kids and of tomorrow. And I think it'll soften all of our hearts. And I think that we can come together that way. So long-winded answer, but that's kind of how I think about hope today.
Well, now I know why they ask you back to School of Pharmacy all the time, because your message resonates and extremely important today and every day. We appreciate that so much. Have a great rest of your birthday. We so appreciate you taking the time with us from your busy job as Vice President at Walmart and all that you're doing there. And we'll look forward to seeing you. I do have one more. Ask Ryan Walters. Just a quick question about what you see from this football program heading into 2023. A new sheriff in town, so to speak. He's younger than you by 8 years. That's hard to imagine. He's got a lot of energy. Have you had a chance to be around him? And if not, what do you see go moving forward with a guy like Ryan?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So we talked about Rosevelt Colvin earlier.
Yeah.
So Rosevelt came up and met with him. It's like, hey, Rosevelt, check him out. Let us know. But we should be looking forward to him being a great recruiter. So what you hear about, right? So personality, energy, should be able to bring in talent. Defensive mindset, right? So come what he led last year at Illinois, so that defensive mindset should come here. And then I love what he said is he's going to hire offensive coaches that actually gave him trouble, what he didn't want to defend. So I think it sounds like he has an awesome plan. I think to be able to reach young people, you got to have energy and be able to connect. He can do that. So we look forward to him recruiting. And then I think that the Purdue fan base will get behind him, and look forward to seeing Ross-Ade rocking, especially with these new funds coming in from the Big Ten, right? So we facilities and all that. So I think it sets up for us to be really good. And we look forward to that consistently being good and moving forward. And we don't want to be the last Rose Bowl team. I tell my wife that all the time.
Yeah.
One of the things I do love is RVing now.
Yeah.
We bought an RV again, create memories for the girls. So I look forward to taking that RV to Pasadena one of these days. All
right. That's a great, we'll leave it on that note. For Purdue fans, that would be a great thing. And I think you would enjoy playing under Ryan Walters' energy your playing days. You talk about the role of coaches and that. Warren Eichmore, have a great birthday. We appreciate your time so much, and you're forever enshrined now in the Arni's birthday Zoom. I know that's going to be another thing you can put on that resume. Have a great day. Best to you and your family, and we hope to see you at Ross-Ade or up in West Lafayette real soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.